Hello and welcome to this podcast. My name's Stephen Bird and I'm here with Nathan. How you doing, Nathan? You all right?
Hi, how are you?
All good.
Good, good. Thank you. I'm Nathan Hanokaee. I am from California, and I'm currently about to enter my first year of college, and I'm excited to be here.
Good stuff. What? So you say you're in the first year of college? Did you say then?
About to enter it, yes.
Okay. And what are you studying there?
I'm probably gonna go towards psychology, something I've been interested in my entire life. But yeah, definitely, I think it's gonna help me in any direction I go.
Well, I think you're an interesting guy. You know, it's we met through a podcasting website. Do I call it that? I'm not too sure where we can say.
Yeah, it was a great way to collaborate.
Yeah, definitely. There seems to be a lot of people on there, and obviously we got talking, and we seem to have a good bit of mutual kind of, I don't know, we say a bit of yin, a bit of yang there. So
Yes, yes.
kind of went for it. So yeah. So today, well, I suppose we want to talk about big stuff, don't we? It's kind of around
Yes.
spirituality and might touch on a bit of religion and stuff like that. So I guess we'll see where we go with it. So obviously we've had some times at the moment that have been quite negative. And how have you found the last sort of 12 months or so since we've been going through what we've been doing?
Actually, surprisingly, the opposite of what most people have found it to be. Like, I know a lot of people say that 2020 was the worst year, and a lot of bad things happened. Yes, it's true. I'm not going to turn a blind eye to, all the suffering that people endured last year. However, I'm not going to allow that to cause me to suffer. I actually experienced great things last year. I think I grew exponentially, like every month, even more and more and more in every aspect of my life, whether it was through politics, like psychology, spirituality, just speaking skills, all of the above. But yeah, I'm not going to turn a blind eye again to like the health crisis and this and that. I know a lot of people went through a tough times last year, and it could get even more. I mean, this year and so on. But yeah.
What made you actually kind of go that way then? How was you able to just be kind of positive, build up?
Mm. I had the privilege of being born into an amazing family who that's all that they ever I guess taught me. I mean, sure, I've had my childhood days as well. However, but as I grew up, they pushed me into this mindset that, no matter what happens, no matter what negative experiences people may be going through, remember that everything happens for a reason, and there's a higher purpose beyond all of this. And it really has helped me keep a peace in my mind throughout the days that I've endured some things in my life. Nothing crazy. Obviously, I haven't had that much experience of life yet, but um, it helps me keep in a state of positive mind, and that's the most important thing, I think.
That sounds like you've had a great start then, didn't it? You know, it's
Thank you.
yeah, if you've had that kind of nurturing along the way and it's just positive, that you couldn't ask for a better start, could you? You know, so yeah. Well, as I say,
Absolutely.
my opinion of just our short brief meeting was I spoke to someone today and just said that you got what seems like a wise head on young shoulders, you know. So I just couldn't believe you were 17 when we spoke, you know. It's yeah,
Well, thank you. Usually people don't believe me either when I say I'm 17. They say like I've gone on 35 one time, which that doesn't make any sense. No, but the average is like 23 usually I come off, which is good. I like to seem a little bit older.
yeah, that's what I thought you was sort of mid-20s, and when you said you were 17,
Mm,
it took me back because it really didn't feel like I was a 17-year-old. But I take that as a good compliment because yeah,
thank you.
you definitely seem like you've got your stuff together. Let's but
For sure.
so yeah, I mean the kind of mutual subject, I guess you could say, what we've been talking about is around spirituality, and it would just be good, I guess, to kind of get into that to see what spirituality maybe means to you, and then I can kind of say what it means to me.
For sure. So spirituality to me is pretty simple. It's the level at which you're able to restrict your negative desires and impulses and urges. Like, how skilled are you at controlling your emotions? And I think that that is, in a nutshell, what it means to be a spiritual person. Someone who sees the good, sees the bad, and chooses the good, and who has the opportunity to do the bad and go towards the negative, but in that moment chooses the right way. And I think how good you are at doing that determines your level of spirituality. I know there's so many different definitions of spirituality. What do you think spirituality is?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of training in mindset stuff. So I'm a qualified NLP practitioner, done it to a master
Mm.
level. Hypnosis. I've
Wow.
also, I'm a Reiki healer, Reiki
Mm.
master. But I've done all kinds of stuff. So where I kind of have a problem with this is that for me, I've kind of come to a place in my life where I kind of just accept what is. Now I'm
Mm.
not saying this is where it kind of conflicts a bit for me. And even at the age of 43, Jesus, you're getting on now. But at the age of 43, I kind of have this big conflict of letting go, letting things go. Things are the way they are. So that means if I feel bad, I feel bad. If I feel good, I feel good. But just don't get too attached to it. At
Mm.
the same time, when you start looking at the laws of physics and energy, basically, the mindset that you have is essentially what you put out is what's coming back to you. So
Oh,
if
absolutely.
good energy is coming back. So there's a bit of a
Absolutely.
conflict there for me that I'm a bit 50-50 on it, because
Mm.
sometimes, I believe that, yeah, what I put out does come back. But then other times it's kind of like, for me personally, I live a much more balanced life when I don't get wrapped up in anything. It's like, what kind of
Mm.
comes at me, I try not to get wrapped up in. Does that mean that obviously I'm like a Zen master? No way. I get tripped up quite a lot. And I mean, last year, for instance, through this whole COVID thing, that was another conflict for me, because even though I've done so much work around letting go, not being too attached to what's coming at me, and I don't, like I say, I honestly don't know. I know that I live a much more better, balanced life letting go. And when I let
Mm.
go, I let go, I let go, I let go. I don't get wrapped up in emotions. I don't get wrapped up in, anything around it. So yeah, that's kind of it, really. That's kind of where I'm at. So yeah, I mean, how does that sound to you?
I agree. There's not much we can do to stop this global scale attack, whatever you want to call it. However, I think that there is a way to prevent yourself from getting wrapped up in, like you said.
Mm.
So all we can do is save ourselves from this time, and the people around us, and by helping them save themselves, and this and that. But what I mean by save themselves is like protect your sanity, protect your mental state. Make sure you're on the right path, because if you get wrapped up in it, like you say, you're gonna get in a state of negativity, and that goes back to what I believe about perceptions shape reality, which is exactly what you've been talking about.
Yep.
If you truly perceive these times to be negative, then your reality will be shaped around those perceptions.
Mm.
And so reality will then actually become negative.
Mm.
Whereas if you perceived positive events, or even within the negative, you found the positive, or in any way, just try to find something good out of whatever is going on in your life. I understand, in America, 300,000 people have died. If you can find something positive within any of the negative events that occur in our lives, then that's all you need, and you can just take that and run with it. And
Mhm.
then your world starts being shaped around those positive perceptions. Then your world becomes positive. It's like the total reverse. So that's what I would say. That's all you can do. Make sure that you are in check. Make sure that you are in peace with yourself during these times, to not get taken away by this negative battle that is trying to take as many people as they can. Just not just the virus, but everything that's negative, they're trying to take you in with that negative side, go on the wrong path. That's how I think of it as well, at least. Like people call it the negative side or evil inclination. I know Christians have a word like Lucifer, Satan. Doesn't matter what you call it, they're all correct. All of you are correct. Yes,
Mm.
yes, they're all negative forces, negative energies that's trying to grab you and bring you into this opposite direction of where you should be going, opposite of truth, right? Opposite of where you're meant to be. Your highest potential is trying to get you to go the opposite way.
Mm.
So make sure you're on the right side of the battle, not on the wrong side. And it's getting harder to be on the right side, but it's becoming more necessary. Yeah.
What I do believe, and I wholeheartedly believe from the beginning, is that there is something at play more than a virus. You got to look at, if they were that concerned in the UK about our health, they wouldn't sell cigarettes. 70,000 people a year die to lung cancer, but they still sell cigarettes from my local corner shop. So, any death is in excess. But when you're talking like, 100 people, whatever it was, I'm sitting there working away, and then on the TV, I get an advert come on for water aid in Africa. Save
Mm.
save the kids. We've lost 20,000 kids this month due to dirty water. And I'm thinking, hold on, we've lost a couple of hundred people in the UK. We shut down the whole planet, or well, no, sorry, not the planet, but we shut down the whole businesses, schools, a lot. You got 20,000 kids. I think, again, I'm paraphrasing a little bit. I can't remember the statistics, but the levels were just out of the ordinary. And I'm thinking, and all these kids are worthy of is an advert on the TV where I have to pay this money, but I know for every pound that I pay to that charity, only 0.8p gets through to the actual cause, because most of it goes to the advertising. You know? So so there's all of this. So that's what I'm saying about. Yeah, so this is where I'm saying again about that kind of me trying to let go, but then I've got all this information coming and I'm thinking, it just ain't right, it's not right. So, but yeah, anyway, what's your thoughts on it?
So with this virus, with the health crisis, whatever you call it, with the civil unrest, with the protests, with the riots, with the presidency, with the election, with all the political turmoil, with all of the negative events of last year, how can people stay positive? Because it's increasing, but these negative events, I don't think they're going to stop anytime soon. So going into 2021, it's only been 26 days so far, and people already are calling it worse than 2020. So I'm just wondering, how can people stay positive during these ever so increasing negative times, basically?
I think for me, the biggest thing, I'm an anxiety sufferer. Now, I want to say that I'm a recovered anxiety sufferer. I would say I'm much, 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 much better, but I just don't believe that, once you open a door to these kind of things, it's more of a management type thing than a cure, and again, it's not getting too wrapped up in it. And then I have to kind of pull myself back to that kind of letting go, as I say. So if you find yourself kind of getting all wrapped up in it, it's beyond your control at the end of the day, and you have got to live it and ride it out. A few people have said that to me, like, what can we do? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, what can we do? But obviously there's the other side of me that wants to fight it. But in answer to your question, it's kind of like, I think you just you don't get wrapped up in it. Me personally, I don't watch the news. I don't switch the news on at all. I don't read any newspapers. If we've got music on, I try to listen to music on iTunes, so I'm not listening to the radio where they've got news bulletins coming on. So it's not sticking my head in the sand. But what I noticed is that when I'm listening to this, it just scares the shit out of you, And for me, that's what I believe is
true.
And also social media. I took a break from my Facebook. I had a New Year's resolution to actually come off Facebook, but through work and everything else, I kind of have to be on there to be a bit active. And but what I did notice in the 2 weeks that I shut down my Facebook, I felt so much more relaxed. It's so yeah, that's what I would kind of say is maybe just don't get so wrapped up in it. And because as you've said, is that there's a higher purpose, is to be positive. It's it is being on the right side of the fence, and that's exactly what I'm seeing as well, is that again, it's hypnotizing, and that's what it's been. I'm seeing like what I would class savvy people doing really unsavvy things. Do you know what savvy means? I don't know what savvy means in the
savvy. Let's give me a definition again so I can.
It means like switched on people. People that would probably just make good choices. I'm seeing a lot of people making really kind of choices out of fear. And yeah, I don't know how else to kind of describe that. It's that's what I'm really seeing, is that a lot of people are kind of running on that fear. And when you do run on that fear, you go into survival mode, and you do really not very logical stuff. It's kind of like just
and that's that negative side again. When I go back to being in survival mode, being in a reactive mode, not really thinking straight, not pausing, taking a step back, acknowledging your surrounding, acknowledging the movie that's in front of you. What can you do to get a positive result, get the outcome that you want? People go into that animalistic, instinctual, reactive, negative mode, like you say. That is what's going to drag you into the wrong path.
And what I could see there is, as you were explaining that, you were kind of sat forward, and then when you said about sitting back, it is actually taking a step back. It's kind of just getting you, and like I say, it's happened for me. And talking with my wife, she said the same thing. She said, someone like yourself who's had a lot of self-development, who you still kind of can get wrapped up in it, and that's it. It's hard. It's like I say, I look at this as World War III. I really do. It's like, don't have to have like aeroplanes going and smashing people up and blowing people up.
Exactly. Oh, we
Everyone's
think the
kicking off,
same way.
everyone's kicking off with each other. Do you know what I mean? You
It's
know,
a psychological world war,
it
right?
is, and this is World War III. You don't need to like
I
put
agree.
aeroplanes up in the air and that. Not when your
Oh
neighbour
yeah.
is next door spying on you, saying, "Oh, you know, they've had two people going there. Like, ring the police." You know, it's
I've been telling my friends the exact same thing you're saying. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it is. You know,
Yeah, it's a battle of the consciousness, I guess.
yes, and this is the thing is I honestly believe, you know, through all the sort of workshops and everything that I've done, that there is a higher purpose, that there is a higher good.
Mhm.
That, you know, again, you know, if we really want to kind of go down that route, it's, I think I said this to you, you know, what starts really bending my head is that we're sat on this earth that's just spinning around like on nothing. You know, it's kind of, you try and explain this stuff to me.
Right,
It's about energy and waves and microwaves and, you know, gamma waves,
right.
da, 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 da. Beyond my, you know, I'm not a very scientific person, but it just bends my mind. And if that,
Right. And that's why I did those podcasts. Sorry to cut you off, but that's why I did those few scientific podcasts to kind of set a scientific basis
mm,
and help people understand we are on this chunk of mass that's floating in nothingness that is nowhere near, I mean, billions of miles away is the next object. Like what? Like what?
yeah, exactly
Exactly like you say.
what I like that.
Yeah.
Exactly what I, yeah, because and again, you know, we're talking here, you're the other end of the world. I've got a Wi-Fi router in the corner of my room, and that's talking to this,
Right.
it's talking to you, and you know, if that's possible, what else is possible, you know?
Exactly.
And that's where I, you know, where I just believe that I believe that, you know, and again, it's hard because I have to kind of rein myself in because I want to be as factual as possible. And I know
Hmm.
that it's not all about facts because I can't get the facts about everything, but I can make
Hmm.
educated guesses. And that's where I
Hmm.
kind of like to go, if you like. I would class myself as quite an intelligent person, but not, you know, I'm not stupid. Not a lot of people pull the wool over my eyes. So it's making them educated guesses of what's kind of going on. And for me, I do believe that, you know, we live in a world where the people at the top kind of know this stuff and they know how to play us. I mean, you've only got to start looking at oh, I can't think what it's called now. What was the big government thing in the 50s and 60s? It was all about hypnosis and stuff. It's well documented. I don't know if you know what that is. If my son was here, he'd tell me what it is because he's always going on about it. Project something. I can't remember. But anyway, so
Not
they've
sure.
they've played with all this stuff, and you know, I believe that there is much more to this, and I do
Me
believe
too. Yeah.
we're spiritual beings having a human experience of, you know, this is, for me, this is a knowing I've had ever since I was born. It's just something that's deep rooted in me that I've tried to tussle with. I've tried to block it out. I've tried to, you know, shut up, you're talking nonsense. But there's just a big magnetic pull. That's probably the word that I can
Mm.
describe. So
And something you say about how you can't find the fact, the reason is because they don't want you to find the fact. And whoever it is that doesn't want you, I don't know
yeah,
who they is, but
yeah.
it's like like you say, there's a I don't want to get into these conspiracy theories, but I do think like yeah, there's definitely some people in this world who know what the hell is going on.
Listen, man,
And
at
they know.
the end of the day, you know, 18 months ago, conspiracy people, if you like, 18 months ago might have looked a bit more unbelievable, and the straighter people could have looked the more believable people. But what I've noticed in the last 12 months is the conspiracy people, to me, talk a lot more sense than what maybe the sort of more sensible people. And I mean,
Mm.
the kind of, I don't know, the stuff I'm watching on TV, but even just a lot of people that I seem to meet that are probably don't even think this way. They kind of just want to get on with their life, go and you know, go and have their job, pay their mortgage.
Totally.
You know, they don't think in bigger terms. You know, so
Totally.
yeah, as I've seen this kind of play out over the last 12 months, it just makes me think. You know, that's why I've kind of stepped more into my spiritual work. Where I think we spoke when I said I've been on this 6-month mentorship about me,
Mm.
and for me that just makes more sense. It makes more sense than what we're supposed to believe, honestly. You know,
Right. It's a better explanation. It's a better explanation. And that's a subjective thing. You can choose which explanation to look for and believe, right?
I think for me though, the biggest convincer of this thing, I think I started speaking to you a bit before about it, but it was near-death experiences. I've been really really investigating or reading a lot about near-death experiences, and I just can't believe the amount of accounts that people have of these experiences. And you know, doctors and nurses hear about this stuff, but because they can't answer it, they just block it out. It's like it doesn't exist, and it's like, what, you know? And
Or they give some arbitrary explanation that nobody is satisfied with.
but when someone's saying, look, you know, you were dead for 4 minutes, I was sat up in the corner of that room, you know, I could see your head, you put that utensil in my body, that this happened, that happened, you know, and they're giving these accounts. These are not just like, this is like 20% of people. I'll nail some statistics, but I know for when they invested, there's a guy called Peter Fenwick, who's a UK, can't think of his actual profession, but a well-respected guy. He thought that this stuff was very, I think he calls it very Hollywood. In the 80s, when someone said to him about these near-death experiences, he thought it just happened to people in Hollywood, you know, like. But after thousands and thousands of accounts, to him, it's just a foregone conclusion, you know. But on one stat, it was kind of like heart attack victims that are kind of gone clinically dead. 10 to 20% of these people have these experiences, and these experiences are so profound that they, when they do come back from these experiences, they're much more like they're kind of not scared of death. They're
Wow.
better people because they've seen where they're going, and they're kind of like, you know, it's cool. I want to stay there. They wanted to stay there, but normally they've made a choice to come back for some reason. So yeah, kind of reading about all of this stuff, and to me, just seeing thousands and thousands of accounts. Like I say, I've watched all sorts of stuff with videos and read books. There's one that I'm reading at the moment called "Surviving Death." Very,
Surviving death. Yeah, you told me.
yeah. I'm about, I think it's 350 pages. I'm about 280 in now, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff there that I've kind of know about anyway. But yeah, like I say, I think that for me has been a big shift in my own beliefs about spirituality. About
Absolutely.
there's more to this. It's as simple as that for me. So
And it's really hard for me to like think about, you know, all of this. This in the spiritual world, there's so much going on, but I look around me, like my own friends, like just people walking on the sidewalk. They don't. I feel like it's just so robotic in a way. It's like the way that they function. I feel like half the people on the sidewalk don't even know they're alive. Like they don't even understand that they're walking on a sidewalk, that there's life next to them, that there's a parkway, there's streets, there's cars, because they're invested in their phone. Maybe they're not paying attention. People turn a blind eye to so many things. It's so easy. I mean, for me, I've experienced it myself. It's so easy to be, I don't want to use this word, enslaved. It's easy to get enslaved and manipulated and brainwashed into going with the system, if you will. Like, I'm not saying go against the system. I'm saying acknowledge that there is something other than what the government puts out, other than what the news is spitting out, other than what society expects from you, and what school, like going back to those social institutions, right? Society, government, religion, family, friends. What else? Oh, public figures and celebrities. Celebrities are like the gods and goddesses of the 21st century, right? And so this is like something, I mean, it's ridiculous. Back then, in the thousands of years ago, you had actual gods and goddesses that people worshipped and believed. These days, you have celebrities on stages. You should see the concerts they have. I'm sure you've seen millions of, not millions, but like thousands of people coming to see one individual whose words impact everyone's lives. And they're like that figure to them, that goddess, God figure, that's what takes the place of God to them. And so they have so much influence, so much power, and not just them, but figures of authority, right? Social media, advertising. I think advertising is a huge one. Advertising, so much subliminal, messages being sent out through these commercials that it's just hard to understand. Why do you want a McDonald's today? Is it really because you're hungry and you want a McDonald's, or is it because you watched an advertisement 3 days ago, right? So, and you don't remember the advertisement because it's subliminal, it's a subconscious thing. I think there's so many external influences that it's hard to know what's true, what's not true. Do you really have free choice in this moment, or are you being controlled by some external influence?
without a doubt. I mean, I think we spoke before about that film Social Dilemma on Netflix, you know.
Social Dilemma, yep.
Mate, that is unbelievable, you know, when you
Right.
start watching that. And what I found not funny, it's probably the wrong word, but what I found fascinating is these guys that have produced these algorithms to essentially, well, to not even like they're actually programming you. They're second guessing you on your patterns. They're so they're creating your reality. You know, these
And
guys,
it makes sense because we
totally,
are totally programmable.
yeah, without a doubt, susceptible,
Right.
without a doubt. And you know, these guys are saying they've even created these programs. They've gone home and then they've realized that they're starting to get susceptible to these programs, and their kids are starting to, and
Exactly.
that mate. But what they're fighting for is what you just said. They're advertising. The way that they've monetized these is through advertising. So what they're trying to do is essentially shoehorn you into that whatever category it is, to be able to throw ads at you, to be able to make money off of you, and that is essentially programming people, not for good. It's and like you say, that because it's all fighting for the buck, they're that is a real bad place to be. And
I think, it's very interesting you say they're fighting for the buck. Absolutely. But I think they're even fighting for something much bigger than that. They're fighting, basically, going back to that, negative route and positive route, right and wrong. They're fighting to bring you onto their side of the battle,
okay.
right? To make you their minions, make you their robotic controlled people, which 99% of the world is, right? So yeah, absolutely, the buck, and even a higher buck, which
No,
is your minds.
but again, though, we're going to go into conspiracy territory there, because I do
Right.
believe that there is a higher purpose, not in a spiritual or a positive light. There's a negative, as we say in there. It's there's definitely something at play for me behind the scenes, because I could really go into some big stuff about money, how money works, and why it just doesn't make sense. I mean, it's there's so many things that just simply don't stack up, and I believe that social media is driving that. There's stuff that's just there to skew your perceptions for not the best things. I mean, you ever seen the film Matrix?
Yes, I have two
Yeah.
times.
So yeah, I mean, obviously watching that, it's again, it just makes sense about essentially, are we just the power, the battery packs, if you like, to just keep this machine moving? But yeah, whatever it is, like I say, I'm not here to be all wacko and start saying for a fact that it's this or it's that, because I really don't know. But yeah, that I agree with you that there's something bigger at play, and I totally get where you're going with looking at, I don't want to use the word zombies, because that's not right, but I mean, my brother, he calls like kids phone zombies, that literally, you don't get their attention.
And in a way, they are.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, my daughter, she's 13, no, 14 now. She hasn't known a life other than social media and a phone. She had a phone at like 11, I think, which is obviously, if I'd have known then what I know now, we wouldn't have given her a phone. I would have hoped that she would have had more of a childhood, because as soon as she got that phone, she changed, and it's just, she's so self-conscious, and yeah, it's just not good. I don't know how else to say it,
I totally agree with you. I
yeah.
totally agree with you.
But
and I'm not gonna sit here and be hypocritical. I'm in those years as well of social media. I grew up in the age of technology, social media, appearance over, anything else that would be more logical to engage yourself in at that time. I'm
one
on TikTok, right?
one thing I would say is, you're aware of it, at least just being aware of it doesn't
Right.
mean to say you're not going to get tripped up by it, and you're not going to get sucked into it, but you're
Right.
aware of it. If you're aware of it, you get a choice. You might not feel like you do, and it might only be a small choice, but you do get a choice because you're aware
I
of it.
like that. Yeah, that's true.
And, that's the thing. But for a lot of kids, they don't have a choice because they don't see it. They're hypnotized, But it's not just kids. I mean, my dad is like mid-60s, runs his own business, and he says, I want to throw my freaking iPhone in the lake. It's just, the thing is connected to me. It's emails, it's this, it's that, all night. It's just going ping, ping, ping.
And it really is an extension of yourself. It really is. It's part of you and your identity, your online world, your online posts, online messages, all of that. It really is the other half of you.
Oh yeah, it's an extension. It's definitely an extension.
Right.
But it's like everything's on steroids, isn't it? It's just,
Yeah.
Years ago in the 90s, I was growing up in the 90s. I was very much into my clubbing and stuff like that. We could get lost for days, and no one would know about it. I wouldn't really know about it. But even though there were very hedonistic days, You know, that you just don't see that anymore. Like the kids are just so serious, and they're very I don't know, they're just they seem to just be very insecure about everything. I mean, you know, we obviously had conversations where, you know, you would judge him, she would judge you, but it was very much within your kind of group of friends. It was only very small, but now it's like it's just on steroids. Everything's amplified, you know, and it's just hard, you know.
And not only that, within those physical interactions of uncomfortable situations, you have that sense of humility. You have that sense of awkwardness, of uncomfortability. However, on the internet, on social media, you don't have to endure those. You don't have to, you know, you can be anonymous on Twitter and go and say your thoughts, and there's no consequence for what you say. People are totally in an instantaneous mode where instant gratification, give me those likes, give me those comments, give me my subscribes, give me this, give me that. And that will make me feel good. And that lets me know that I am a pretty good social level and people like me. I'm very popular. And that's exactly like you said, all that the kids are thinking about. And I mean, again, me as well. I'm a little bit, you know, trying to get away from it. I've deleted a few apps on my phone and I'm starting to be more conscious about it, but it's definitely there. But like totally, like you say, yeah.
Yeah, it's just very disconnected, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
that's the thing. And you know, me and my wife say about this, like our son's got to an age where he's obviously interested in girls and stuff like that. And they've got like he's met a few girls, I believe, through apps or whatever it is. But you know, for us, it was kind of like you had to put the legwork in. You know,
Right.
had to
No longer, no longer.
you know, had to go out, hopefully buy her a couple of drinks, see where it went, and you know, and you kind of went from there. It was, you know, it was hard work, but then you took, you know, you got knocked back, and you know, there's all of them, but it's
And
kind of
then you could suffer the rejection, right? She rejects you and you suffer a little bit and you get a bit uncomfortable.
that's what I'm saying. It's that character building, you know.
Right.
Don't kind of have that because, like you say, you can quite easily just shut your phone off and just forget it or whatever it is. It's but yeah,
Wow.
we had to do it the you know, the old school way, and but I do believe that that's kind of what gave you more, yeah, more grounding. That's probably the only word I can say, but yeah, I do see that, especially with my own kids, is that they do struggle with relationships, and I don't mean in a you know, boyfriend girlfriend kind of way, but just in friends and stuff like that in general. You know, it's
Right. Human interactions.
yeah, just very disconnected, and that's the only word I can
Hmm.
say, which is disappointing. But it is what it is, isn't it? You know.
I was saying mainly what it is impatience that's gone up because of those instant gratification that comes to you. You can instantly text someone and go on a date. You can instantly, you know, get like I did with you online. I reached out to you and I instantly got you. It's that patience factor that's lacking in people's lives, not only in the younger generations, but all the generations that are utilizing these phones and these devices. That instant messaging, you can text someone within 1 millisecond. You can email someone within 2 milliseconds. It's kind of insane to think about.
It is, and I totally get it. I mean, I'll give you an example, like Netflix, for instance. At a touch of a finger, I can watch whatever films I want, but I can guarantee
Exactly.
I'll stick a Netflix on, and within 30 seconds, I'm looking at my phone, and I'm not looking at the film. Years ago, we used to say, like, we had Blockbuster. Did you have Blockbuster over there? I don't know if you
I
know.
remember Blockbuster. Yeah, what next to where I lived when I was around 7 years old. No longer there, but yes, I do remember.
They're dead now. I think you've got about two left in the world. But no, just, yeah, so we had Blockbuster where you could go hire a DVD. I think there was even a video in my day, but hey, we don't go back that far.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was, but as me and my wife said, it was almost like it was half a night out. It was still a kind of a night out to go down a video shop,
Mhm.
to choose your video, to get a bit of ice cream or whatever it was. You come back, you sat
It's
down, you watched
true.
the video, but now everything's just there. So you can like
Mhm.
you can go through 5 films, and if you don't like the look of it, you just get rid of it. Or
They're
oh,
giving you less and less reasons to go outside and experience life.
yeah, and that's it. And like you say, it's that instant gratification, and it's just moving at a massively fast pace. As where, yeah,
Absolutely.
like I say, before you had to just make an effort, like shopping. You know, now
Mhm.
if I want something, Amazon, it's here within 24 hours. You know, before I had to go to a shopping center or a shopping mall, however you want to say it, and you were out for like all the Saturday to try and find, I don't know, a new T-shirt or a new pair of jeans,
Mhm.
whatever it was. Maybe not all day, but you know, it's still an proper effort to go out and do.
Right.
And that's where it's, yeah, it's just becoming faster, and it's just disconnected. You know?
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like I have the mindset of like like someone from the time without technology because like and I don't have that mindset, but I do see that side of things and that makes me realize what's going on. I acknowledge the time period I was born in. I acknowledge uh you know, what's normal for teenagers these days, and what they like, and the interests that they're gravitating towards. And I can tell you firsthand, they are not good. It is not in the best interest of these teenagers, of my friends,
Mm.
to be going towards social media, to be going towards, like you say, the Netflix, this, that. It's that patience factor that's lacking, which is the most important part.
And like I say, it's not even just kids, mate. I mean, I've never been a real patient person myself. So to get
Mm.
wrapped up in the world that we're in now, I would struggle if you were to say to me tomorrow, you know, you've got no phone, you've got no Netflix, you've got no Amazon, you've got, you know, you've now got to go to your local supermarket, buy your weekly shopping. You've then got to go, you know, it'd freak me out, you know. It's
Right,
but it's because of where we are, and it is very programmable. We are programmable
right,
people, and we are being
right.
brainwashed. And I don't mean, you know, it's just not good, is it? You know, it's
No, no. So the patience factor goes down, attention span goes down. And what helps that? TikTok. Thank you for those minute-long videos. Thank you so much, Mr. Whatever your name is, who invented the app. 1 minute long videos.
yeah,
And not even that, people don't even watch the full minute, which is really funny because they're intended for you to watch the whole thing because it's shorter, but people watch 10, 20 seconds of that TikTok. And then they go on YouTube, they see 2 hour long podcast about spirituality like this. They're like, what? You really expect me to watch this?
yeah.
2 hours, 2 hour long podcast. I only watch 20 seconds maximum. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so now YouTube is actually gravitating towards that as well. I don't know if you know. They're gravitating towards minute long videos implemented into the system of YouTube, which is really ridiculous. But I mean, that's what they do.
Well, that's why I'm actually attracted to YouTube. I like YouTube because I can get. I mean, I love Joe Rogan podcasts. I mean, not
Yeah,
all.
I listen to him all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, if there's someone that really interests me, then you know, to sit there for 3 hours, I can do that. But it has to obviously switch me on. There's not a lot of people that would. So that would be
Mm.
disappointing if we lost that, and I hope we don't lose that, because to me, YouTube is actually the only one I believe out of the whole social media platforms that I think is probably not as bad as the other
Mm.
stuff. You know, it's
I would agree. I would agree.
you choose what you want to watch and what you want to listen to. I know that they put up suggested videos, but you know, essentially you're still kind of in control. I don't get bombarded with adverts and stuff like that, so it's not really
Of
shaping
course.
my perception. But yeah, I think that would be disappointing if they did do that, because I find it a real good source of information. I still think when it comes to the kind of COVID stuff, it's a bit skewed. I really don't agree with the way that they're censoring on Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that. They're saying it's for the higher good, but I believe that a lot of the stuff that's being pumped out, when you start really scratching beneath the surface, there's alternative agendas. And again,
Mm.
not going to, you know, conspiracy nut, but it just doesn't stack up for me, you know. So
And that's great. I mean, I love, you know, diversity of thought, diversity of opinion. You don't have to believe everything that, you know, someone tells you to believe. I might not agree totally with, you know, what you say, but it's great that to have that diversity. It's great to have that questioning factor of everything that you hear and that you read.
yeah, no, I agree. And
Absolutely.
it's just having that free will, and that's what we don't seem
Right.
to be having. It's you know, have we always had free will? I'm not saying that even before social media and that, because I've come through the, you know, we still had a TV, we still had a video, and that thing is sitting in the corner just programming you day after day after day. Newspapers were still around day after day after day, but
Right. Right.
again, I just believe it's kind of like we're on steroids, you know. With
Right. We think we have free will. We
yeah,
think that's something that keeps us up.
yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's we're supposed to live in a free society, and but yeah, especially for the
Yeah.
last year, that really doesn't seem like it, does it? You know, it's been totally taken away from me. So okay,
Absolutely.
so if we start talking a bit then about the spirituality and bringing that back, so how did you find spirituality? What kind of led you to them paths?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I was lucky enough to be born into it, actually. My parents have been studying it. So as I grew older and older, didn't care at all, not an ounce, even at 13, 14, 15, even not an ounce. I'm 17. So just until last year, it was the beginning of my junior year of high school where I started to actually ask my parents questions. You know, what is this that you are going to these classes every week and learning this? I overhear, you know, the lectures and this and that. It gets me a little bit interested, a little bit more entertaining actually, because some of the stuff that they said was like, ooh, I haven't heard that before. Interesting way to say positive. Then I realized these are lectures that need to be heard by everyone. I listened to one of the lectures that were like 30 minutes long, and it really grabbed me, and it really resonated with me, because I didn't have the spirituality factor at that point, but I still had the, you know, freedom of thought. We should all have freedom of opinion. I still believed in positivity and like keeping your head up during the day and go with the flow. A lot of things that resonate with spirituality, but I didn't know it was spirituality. It was related to these concepts. So whenever I found it, I was like, this is exactly the realm I need to be in. This is what exactly what I need to study. I have a friend that I always, talked about these concepts, such as like coyotes and sheeps. Like sheeps are like the people of, everyday people who, they kind of like take the world as it appears. They don't really look into anything too much, and they go with the flow, go with the system, listen to society and this and that. They have influencing factors. And then the coyotes are those who acknowledge that there is something other than what you see, right? So this was a friend who, he's still one of my best friends. We talk about it all the time, about how like society it's one of the main controlling factors of the way that we think, the way that we act, and the way that we speak, our attitude, our personalities. All of that has to do with society, and included in society is all that we've talked about today, which is the media, advertising, government, society, all that. So it was teachers, friends, and parents all combined together to help me gravitate towards this amazing concept of spirituality, which I want to get as many people to, learn, because it's just, what's the word? It's very comforting to know that it's at least available to people who, want to see it and want to go towards the correct path. It's there for you if you want to go towards that direction.
So you're talking about, you listen to some lectures and that. I mean, what does spirituality actually mean to you? What is it that you're following? What is it that you're, you explain a bit about that? Or?
Absolutely. So I have a teacher who, so I'm Jewish, so I do go from a religious background, but he teaches specifically the spiritual aspect, which is something that applies to everyone, not just for Jewish people, not just for a specific group of people, but it's a universal, basically, practice. And these lectures, all walks of life of people attend these lectures, not just Jewish people, which is something that, I love as well. Is it does have a biblical background, but something that all people can understand, as so long as you like believe in, I guess, the Bible. But it applies to everyone, everywhere, at all times, with no exemptions. It's the universal principles, spiritual laws that govern, no matter if you believe them or not. They're still there. They still exist, whether or not you acknowledge them. And you're in this game of life, that there's a right path, there's a left path. And if you go on the right path, you'll go towards that perfect self that you're striving to become, the best potential version of yourself. And the other way is anything that can block you from going in that path. And the game exists whether or not you acknowledge it, right? You're still in the game whether or not you know that you're in the game. And there's still an opponent. There's an opponent factor, which I would say is yourself. And if you want, if you will, government, society, like you say, which we should fight against. Yeah, absolutely. Fighting against anything that's trying to hindrance our progression of life towards towards truth. And I think the main one, even more than society, even more than government, probably yourself. That's going to be the main person who's in the way of you going towards, the right path. So I call that, ego. People call it different names, animalistic inside, interior, or whatever. But that's like the main opponent to overcome in order to be able to go on the right path.
Okay. What I find interesting is that again, reading a lot about the near-death experiences that I have, I've been kind of going down that rabbit hole a little bit over the last sort of 6 to 9 months, and the what seems to come up with a lot of people's experiences is that we are essentially, we're put here to learn, and we're here to grow, and we're here for a reason. And it's almost like a lot of people are saying this now. I'm not saying it's belief or anything like that, but essentially we choose to be here, and we choose our partners, and we choose because we're here to grow and to learn, and that's what's going to resonate us on a higher level, to go back home or whatever it is at the end of it. So, I find that kind of interesting as well, because personally, my own experience, I've written about this and spoke about it, but I just look at life like a spiral, and I just see that we're kind of on this spiral, and every time on every kind of turn, it's like we've got to learn, and if we don't learn, we kind of come back on that spiral, and that just keeps hitting us and hitting us and hitting us, has done in my life, until I kind of learn from it, And when I've learned and when I've overcome that, it kind of goes, and then I have the next kind of life lesson to learn, you know. So yeah, I'm very much of I do believe that we are here for a reason. I don't know what that reason is. Like I say, I believe that there's some kind of learning aspect. I'm not saying that we choose our partners and we choose, you know, that's a bit too way out there for me because it's got no relevance to my own experience. But I do believe in kind of karma, and I believe that we are here to learn and to grow.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important things when it comes to religion, so I don't know if this agrees with my religion, but I have my own view, which is that I don't think that matters too much. I think the most important part of religion, of spirituality, is the spirituality aspect that is there. So, you know, whether or not Christianity is correct, Islam is correct, Judaism is correct, Buddhism is correct, I don't think that really matters. I think the fundamental, you know, basics of what we should all be striving for is to be good people, you know, giving people, positive, whatever, you know, during times of negative, and someone who wants to help others, who's in the business of helping others on their everyday lives. I think that's what matters the most when it comes to spiritual energy, like creating. I look at it like a kind of like a point system, even though I know it's not really a point system, but in some ways it is. If heaven and hell exist, so be it. That's what will happen at the end, and I don't need to really worry about that right now. I'll just live my life, do everything, you know, the correct way that I see most best fit. And if there is a religion that is correct, then, you know, I will be judged based on those rules or whatever. But I think, again, the most important part is the spiritual aspect that applies to everyone. Like, I think something that you will see within all the religions is this something that you will see within all the religions is this connection between striving to be better, striving to be a better person, right? Sins and opposite of sins, whatever they're called, right? They have that idea of this is the good path, this is the bad path. And I think that correlates with the spiritual laws of energy, right? If you do this action, creating negative. If you do this action, creating positive. Why is it that way and not another way? Not my business. I don't know why. I don't know why. But that goes back to the spiritual laws. Why are the spiritual laws the way that they are, right? Why is karma the way that it is? That's also not my business. That's how it is.
No, I agree. I mean, what you said there, there's a few things, and I want to make sure that I can kind of remember them to get them all out. But it was, I mean, I do agree with, for me, religion is, it's almost like, for me, spirituality is like a level above it. I think they all kind of point to the same thing. I think they all have the similar sort of stuff. I'm not really, I spoke about this, I'm not a religious person. I don't know any kind of, I think I bought a Bible about 3 years ago because I thought I wanted to actually read some passages because it sounds like a self-development manual from what I can see, you know. To be honest, I switched off after a few pages. I just couldn't digest it. But yeah, I'm just saying, I believe that it kind of all points to the same thing. Now, what I will say now, like my daughter says that I'm cringe when I say it. She can't kind of buy into it, but I do believe we're all energy. I believe, you know, you've only got to look at quantum physics and the way that quantum entanglement works, and how now I'm going to quote something that makes me sound really good, but I'm going to muck it up. I know I am, but essentially, protons and neurons, you know, they were able to split, and they had this
Neutrons.
Is that what it was? And you had the same properties, but they acted exactly the same way, and they've not been able to explain why these things could be a meter apart or around. You know, it could be at the other end of the universe, and they can act exactly the same way. I think there's more stuff now as well about dark matter. Is it that they say 98% of empty space, but they're now starting to believe that there's kind of some energy, and I believe that this is where they're kind of going.
Right. I'm not exactly sure what the percentages are, but yes, it's something around like 75 or more percent of the universe is unknown, what it's made of, and we don't know what the energy is, what the force is.
Yeah, but there's this dark matter. It's actually, well, I understand it is higher, and it's this 98% or whatever it is of empty space. You know, when you start looking at things on a molecular level, that there is just like 98% whatever empty space. But they're starting to say, in the, you know, the kind of books and stuff that I've been reading, that there's this kind of energetic force which is almost like a sort of spider web, and it's this spider web of energy that connects everything and everyone. So that's where I'm kind of going, is that I just believe, you know, you've got a meat outfit, I've got a meat outfit, and when this meat outfit gives up on us, the consciousness goes over. And again, with all the kind of stuff I've been reading about near-death experiences, that to me is the sort of fundamental basis of it. Gives me, even though it's something I've believed ever since I was a child, there's a knowing in me that something is at play here. That's kind of given me the scientific, it's given me a bit of I can't get my words out there. It's just given me some evidence. That's what I want to say.
Or a more logical ground to
Yeah,
form your ideas.
yeah. So it's given me that basis to go, okay, I can kind of go with that a bit more now. It's not just pie in the sky stuff. So yeah, so when it comes to religion, I do believe that there's this sort of upper level where it's kind of all pointing to the same thing. It doesn't matter if, like you say, you're Hindu, you're Christian, or whatever it is. It's all pointing to the same sort of thing. And to me, that is kind of energy and God. And I'm not talking God as in a figurehead, but maybe that is universe or whatever it is. But there's something to that. And
Right.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm
I
going.
always thought of God as more of a concept or an idea,
Yeah.
more than a being. Yes, I do believe, God influences, our lives in some ways, based on, whatever my beliefs are. But I think of it more as, again, a concept. I think like in some ways we all have that within us, or a spark of that within us. And that's what gives us a soul. That's what allows energy to function, because everything is these sparks that, if you combine them all together, is what we call a God, I guess. I don't know what, exactly what the correct terminology to mention it by, but going back to that dark matter and dark energy, I was thinking, I don't know if this is true or not, but I thought, what if that is the spiritual energy, that we are questioning, that if it exists or not? What if that dark matter and the dark energy is, like you said, the spider web, the spiritual energy that connects everything together, where if I drop a napkin here, no, that's too physical. Let's say like I have a certain thought here, it actually affects something across the world, right? Like however minuscule the effect may be, it is nevertheless an effect.
Do you know anything about telepathy?
I know a little bit, yeah.
So I think they've proved beyond reasonable doubt that we're able to telepathically pick up on stuff. And again, I think the CIA done a test where they again, I'm going to paraphrase a bit, but I know that there was it was beyond reasonable doubt that there's something going on, where someone was able to concentrate so much that someone else could pick up their ideas and actually draw from it. But I would.
This is with the unclassified CIA documents.
Yeah. So I think it was in the 60s or 70s and then they got unclassified, and so that's kind of, well, psychic ability basically. And it's not necessarily that I'm talking to your dead grandmother. It's just what we can pick up on. But I mean, we done it earlier. I was sat around this dinner table that I'm at now with my family, and I can't think, there was a word that was said. I was sat next to my son, and I started singing a song, and he goes, "I just had that in my head," and it's just stuff like that where, I believe that there's this kind of web of energy, and like I say, that they're sort of saying that this is beyond reasonable doubt that this is happening.
Right.
You can influence other people, and I do that all the time, like second guess other people that I'm kind of very near and stuff.
For sure. This has happened to me, I want to say 12 times in the last 7 days, where I'm thinking something, and like, let's say I'm thinking of a person, and that person called me the second that I start thinking of them. I'm not exaggerating this. So how important do you think that it is for people to keep an open mind when it comes to talking about like spirituality and these concepts that we've tackled in today's episode?
I think it's really important, but are a lot of people open-minded? That is the ultimate question, I believe. I'd like to think I'm open-minded. I mean, personally, I'd like to think that I will listen to other people. It doesn't mean to say I'm going to agree with them. I will always go away and kind of digest that and see if I can do something with it. But in answer to your question about a lot of other people being open-minded, I don't believe a lot of people really are. From my experience, there's only a small sort of group of people that I maybe come in contact with that I can have these kind of discussions with, and to be very open-minded about that. You have your kind of beliefs. I know we share some similarities, which is great, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to agree with everything you say, and vice versa.
Right.
But I am open-minded to that. I'm not saying that you're wrong and I'm right, So yeah, I personally, you know, I know you said you were going to study psychology. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I said, I've done a lot of. I haven't done psychology courses, but I've read a lot of books, and you know, in my experience, there are, you know, our human race is made up of kind of like 80% of people that kind of do have their minds made up for them, and that's kind of, you know, it's the 20% that kind of do want to think for themselves and do believe that there's something more to this, that I believe are more open-minded. I would like to believe that that will shift and that more people do become more open-minded, but yeah, it's I find it hard, especially to the average Joe on the street, to kind of have these conversations. And to be honest, I wouldn't have these kind of conversations. It's you know, I
Oh
kind of,
no,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, it's picking and choosing. So yeah, in answer to your question, not a lot of people. There are,
Right.
I have met a lot of people in my time, but yeah, yeah, a lot of people
I
I don't.
agree. I think one of the worst things you could do is to believe that what you know is all that there is.
Totally.
Like to not believe that there is more than what you can see. Like for example, in the physical world, you have the five senses. They say there's more than five senses. Whatever heat, temperature, whatever other perceptions we have, right? Beyond the physical. I think that that is something we should all keep an open mind about. We don't know because it's not physical, right? So there's no way to really be able to logically see it or experience it within the physical realm. You have to tap into it through the spiritual tool or method, which is only available if you believe in it, right? Because it doesn't work if you're like close or whatever. So I think it's important for people to understand that there could be, not that there is or there isn't, but there could be more to the story than what you see in front of you, what people are giving you, right? It's convenient to believe what's right there, right? It's convenient to believe something that someone's giving to you, someone's feeding it to you. It's inconvenient, and it's very, you know, what's the word? It's very inconvenient for you to actually go out and seek it out for yourself, right? Go out of the way, out of your own way, out of everyone else's way to actually find what is behind the scenes of this statistic, what is actually happening in this news story, what is behind everything that we see on the surface level, because there's always going to be something behind it, like a plane crash in the Bermuda Triangle. We've heard many stories about that, right?
Yep.
And people say, yeah, it's probably the plane crash malfunction. Sure, absolutely, it's possible. But what if that's not true? What if there is something behind that? And what if there's something behind the Lebanon bomb? What if there's something behind 9/11? What if there's something behind the things that we hear on the news? And I'm not saying there is, right? I'm not going to say, all these conspiracies, but what if the surface is not all that there is? That's just the thing that people should keep in mind. Maybe there's something that you don't know, right? That's taking a play here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, what I do believe though, and what I find is, I think a lot of people are scared to actually stand up and be
Mm-hmm.
counted, and they're scared to just be what would be classed as out the norm. I mean, I don't know what it's like in the US with your, you know, with I was going to say tradition. Tradition isn't the right word, but you know, the
Culture.
yeah, with the culture. So in the UK, for instance, we would, you know, me, I've always kind of been a little bit the way I am, but I know that like a lot of people that maybe I was around would kind of think that I've lost the plot a bit. You know, it's kind of like, but it's because I'm not scared to just say what I want to say, and to be, you know, to be a bit out there, and just to just try and discover that stuff. You know, it's
Right.
but yeah, I think that's what I find is, you know, like UFOs. You know, I categorically, I mean, have you seen the Joe Rogan podcast with Lieutenant whatever? But this guy, you know, he's high-ranking Navy pilot, Lieutenant. I don't know. Again, I'm not great with that stuff, but he's high up. You know, he's categorically saying we chased this thing that defied the laws of
Ooh.
physics. You know, and the Pentagon have even said, yeah, this happened. You know, okay, hello, this happened, but okay, just go.
I
Do
know.
you know what I
I
mean?
know.
Go back to watching TV. Huh? Am I the only one here? What do you mean this happened? Don't worry about that. Do you know what I mean? Well, hello. Do you know what I mean?
I thought the same way. Like, hello, did
Yeah,
you not see the CIA?
they've said that there's this thing that we don't know what it is. It's defied the laws of physics, and what? Nothing. You know what I mean? It's like,
Exactly.
So come on, man. It's not conspiracy anymore. That's fact. They've said that.
Right.
There's this thing
Right.
out there, so don't give me that we are just this planet with these people on it. So yeah, that kind of, that gets me, let's say, passionate. I don't want to say angry, but I'm kind of like, what the hell is going on? So yes, I kind of lost my train of thought there. I was getting too excited, but
No, it's great. I mean, you made an amazing point.
yeah,
People wake up whenever you see a credible government issued footage that's being released to the masses about something that defies the laws of physics. That's something that you should really maybe open one of your eyes at least to look at it and question.
totally. So that's what I'm saying is that, again, I would stand up in front of people and say, hello, something's got to be done about this, as where a lot of people would be
Right.
scared to maybe even stick their head above the parapet. It's kind of
Right.
like, again, let's just, yeah, okay,
And
and
it takes a lot of courage.
yeah, totally. And
And it takes a lot of courage to be able to stand up and do that.
yeah, mate, without a doubt, it's totally and utterly get that. But I think within the UK, again, within our society, it's kind of, I don't know what your perception is of the English, but we can be very, I suppose, a bit moany and a bit like, it's kind of on that. So they, I think a lot of people are definitely that they're scared to stand out for the fear of being ridiculed. And that's kind of what a lot of people, I mean, I see it on social media. If someone says, I don't know, about psychics, oh, all psychics are fake. I'll tell you what, I reckon 85, 90% of all psychics are fake, but there's a small
Oh yeah.
percentage, there is a small percentage that are just beyond gifted in,
I think the same way as you. Exactly.
uh,
Exactly. And same thing with a lot of the other things, like not just psychics, but people who claim to be able to do telepathy, people who claim this, claim that, or the religious establishments, right? I personally agree the religious establishment is the most corrupt institution in the world,
without a
to be
doubt.
quite frank with you.
Yeah.
However, I do believe in religion. I think a small percentage of it is truth. Not a small percentage of my religion is truth, but a small percentage of the people who are behind it or actually have good intentions or actually are not lying, are not corrupt individuals.
Yeah. So no, and that's what I'm talking about. So because you kind of have 85% of these nutcases out there that are frauds, you kind of get pigeonholed into you're a nutcase. You're all nutcases. It's like and I think again it's just that kind of, again, the UK thing. It's sort of you kind of scoff at people, ha ha ha, blah blah blah. Where as essentially like we just say about being open-minded and just maybe looking at something that there is out there. And again, that book I've been reading, Surviving Death. This lady is I don't know what her profession is, but she is a journalist as well, and she's kind of done all of these sort of talking to all of these kinds of people, and this she's putting up a very, very good argument that there is something other than what we believe. And yeah, and for me that's it. Again, it is about being kind of open-minded. But yeah, as I say, going back to like we said about that UFO thing, it's just when you've categorically got something in front of you and they've said that this is correct, we should just stop the world. For me, it's like, okay, stop, everyone, just stop a minute. They've said that probably the biggest question in the world, maybe is there life after death, but also, are we alone in this universe? There is something here that is simply defying the laws of physics and gravity. It's bending gravity. This thing is being able to move in all sorts of directions. We should stop, in my opinion, the world. And
I agree. Everyone pause in your own place. You're on your way to work, stop, take out your phone and look at it and acknowledge it at least.
Just stop. We can't deny if they're so that, yeah, therefore just open your minds, and that's kind of it. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
No, I agree completely. Speaking of which, like, have you ever seen a UFO or like anything supernatural in your entire life?
No, I mean, again, this is what I'm saying is that so with like my psychic work and mediumship, where I'm starting to develop and go to, that is kind of more what people could class as an imagination. I kind of I can see things playing out in my mind's eye as like a movie, if you like. But in terms of actually seeing a full-on sort of apparition or a figure, is that what you're kind of asking? Is it that supernatural, or do you mean
So by supernatural, I mean anything that doesn't make sense. Anything that doesn't make sense logically, physically, according to physics.
I mean, you were talking about synchronicity earlier, and
Okay.
there's been a few things that have happened in my lifetime that, you know, in my opinion, are there for a reason, and I can't explain them. You know, I think I said briefly when we met before about the when my nan passed away. So I mean, I'll tell that story now, but it was that simply in 2013, I believe it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke up with like having a sneezing fit, and I suffer from hay fever, but it doesn't normally wake me. I don't think I've ever been woken having hay fever. But yeah, I kind of started having this sneezing fit, and went to went to the bathroom to sort myself out. Eventually, after a couple of minutes of sneezing, I stopped. But then I just couldn't sleep. So I've come downstairs, started watching a bit of TV, and it got to kind of like 5 o'clock in the morning, wide awake. My wife come down because she was going to work, said, "What are you doing up?" I said, "I haven't got a clue, just can't sleep." And she said, "Okay, off to work." So she's gone, I've fallen asleep. That was that. I then woke up with my phone ringing at 8 o'clock in the morning. My dad was on the phone, and he just said, like, "Son, got some bad news. Unfortunately, your nan passed away last night." I was like, gutted, said what we said, and put the phone down. I then sat there and I thought, hold on. So rung him back and said, "You got any more details about that?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, what time did she pass and stuff like that?" And he said, "Well, apparently last night about 2 o'clock in the morning, she started struggling. So the nurses and doctors all come to try and work on
At
her
2 o'clock?
at 2 o'clock in the morning. And they started working on her. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, she passed away. So, I was very close to my nan. I had a
Wow.
very close bond with my nan. And, I just couldn't explain that. It was, yeah. And again, coincidence, maybe, who knows? But for me, it was just too close, because it was someone, like I say, if we're talking on an energetic level, I definitely had a lot of connections with my nan.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so stuff like that. So I'm not saying, because I've often said to my wife's seen ghosts. She's seen all kinds of apparitions, as they call it. I've often said I'd love to just see something there and then. So categorically, I know, and she just says, like, "You'll shit your pants." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I would." So like, so even though I want to kind of see it, if I do, I don't know. I probably would. I'd probably
Right.
run like 300 meters in the other direction. So
Wow.
yeah, so I've had various things. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff, but yeah, that's probably the most poignant memory I've had of something kind of spooky happening, shall we say.
Wow. No, that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
What about yourself? Have you had any sort of supernatural
So,
stuff?
so I don't know if you call this supernatural, but it's definitely unexplainable. Where a month ago, I was on the roof of this building, was with my friend, and I don't want to sound like a whack job, but I believe that I saw 2 UFOs. So this was during a night where I remember the news talked about it was a meteor shower. However, so the first time I saw it, it was a white light in the sky. I can't explain to you how fast it was going. It was like really fast, and not only going straight, it changed direction. So that to me is like, okay, that can't be a meteor, because a meteor is like a shooting star. It would go directly and fade out. But this one went straight, and it did a 90-degree angle and it went a different direction.
Okay.
And by the time that it reacted and said, "Oh my God," it had gone away. And my friend was like, "You're ridiculous. What's going on here? What's wrong with you? You're seeing things." Then 5 minutes later, we both see another a green light in the sky, in the night sky, and it goes really quickly and it curves. It curves. It's not a exact 90-degree, but it curves, and it wasn't going straight. So to me, that's unexplainable. Don't know what it is. Is it an unidentified flying object? Absolutely. But is it like alien life? Is it like extraterrestrial life? I don't know. I couldn't be able to answer that question. It's definitely unidentifiable. I don't know what that was.
Yeah,
But,
spooky stuff.
some crazy things. Yeah.
I've got my neighbour. If you want to talk about yeah, freaky stuff. He yeah, my neighbour told me a story that he works at a, like a, I don't know what you'd call it, like a university type place, and he's never sort of seen anything. I mean, he believes in like the afterlife as a you know, as a belief, if you like. But he told me this story that he was at work one day, and there was like an old tree, and there was a lady that was standing there, and she had this sort of white, it was a full, like, it looked like a human being. He thought it was a lady. He said the whole university was shut down at the time, there was no one about, and this particular part was like an old house, this sort of part of this university. And she so yeah, he saw this woman, and he went to walk up to her to see what she was, if she was lost, what it was. And he said she was only probably about sort of, I don't know, 25 meters away. By the time he walks over to this old oak tree where she wasn't there. She went behind the oak tree, and he said that literally there was nothing on the other side of the oak tree. There was no doors. There was no way she could have got out. It was all kind of like a sort of courtyard with a building all around, I believe. And that kind of threw him out, because he just said, like, still to this day, he believes that it was a ghost. And he said, but it was in full figure. I believe that I've seen stuff like that where I can't explain it, where I've had certain people come into my life at certain times to say something, and then they're nowhere to be seen. That's kind of happened a few times that I've not been able to explain. I mean, I've had like a couple of crashes. Well, they weren't crashes; they were near. I would call them near-death experiences, but there was a couple of times really. I was very, very reckless in my younger years. Didn't care about laws or anything like that. Really stupid, really reckless. And I mean, there's two stories, but the first one was me and my friend were going to like a pub that was about half an hour away from where I am, and I was driving I had like a little Fiesta XR2, which is like a little sporty thing. I was about probably 18, 19.
Oh,
And,
look at you.
no, it wasn't as good as it sounds. No, just yeah, but so I remember kind of. There was like, it was rainy, it was very rainy, all this rain was kind of coming down, and there was a car to my left, and there was a truck in front of me, and I come bombing down this road, and I've slipped my brakes on, and literally the car went into full lock, and I was heading towards this lorry, and there was a car to like my left that was totally parallel with me. And I still don't know to this how I've done it to this day. Now, it could just be instant reactions. I could have just have had the smallest of gaps, but literally I was able to slip the car around this lorry. But in my opinion, I should have gone into the back of it. It was almost like there was a divine intervention. And again, I know it sounds a bit wacko, but it's just my experience, and it's my belief at the time. It was almost like I had some kind of helping hand to get me out of that trouble, you know?
Wow. No, I've heard many stories like this. So you
Yeah.
don't sound like a nut job. These are things that I've heard so many times. Even my own family members have told me their own personal stories.
Yeah, and I had a similar experience driving a minibus for my dad with 17 passengers on it. You know, I was late getting these guys to work, and I was shooting down a road, and this thing was like a death trap. But I slammed the anchors on, and I was going to hit the car in front. There was no two way about it. And what I'd done was, there was a curb to the left, and I was able to bump it up on the curb, overtake this car on the grass verge, and then come back on the road. And when I look back at it, I should have been in a ditch. I should, you know, it just didn't make sense. It was like, you know, you could say, I don't know, just a good driver or a bad driver, however you want to describe it, or very good reactions. But it just, after it had finished, it happened so quickly. It was almost like it wasn't me that was doing it, if that made sense, you know?
Wow.
So yeah,
There's
yeah,
definitely something weird going on there.
yeah, well, like I say, it's my experience, it's my belief, and you know, I don't want to sound like a wacko on a nut job, but it just, you know, it just didn't make sense. And yeah, like I say, that. So yeah, I would say them sort of. I've had a few of them sort of experiences in my lifetime, you know.
All right. I mean, there's countless stories from my own family, like my aunt and my grandma, and I'm not really gonna get into them right now because I just learned them from my family, like stories and stuff that has been tripping me up. I've been questioning everything I've ever known to be true. I'm not gonna get into it too much, but like there's some stories similar to that about some even crazier things that like psychic and getting into these weird spiritual things like that
Yeah.
I just learned about. And now it's kind of confirmed my belief. Before I was like kind of on the verge of believing whether or not it's possible to, you know, do psychic things, talk to people who have passed on and this and that. But after hearing some of the stories that my own family, unless they're lying to me, right, there's something to definitely like question here. That's gotten me to a stand that I'm like, okay, this has to be true. There has to be something. If not that true, then something is definitely possible here. And if that's possible, what else is possible? Like you said at the beginning, what else is possible? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to think about. You'll go crazy if you think about it too long.
Yeah, of course, and that's it. And again, I suppose that goes back to the open-mindedness. It's just, what is possible. I believe that, and this is where I would really like to make a contribution to the world. I'd like people to just open their mind and contribute to that. For us just to be a better human race. It freaks me out to think that what my kids are going to be left with and what their kids are going to be left with. I just see a big load of mess being created, and I just want to be part of that kind of movement. As just spreading that kind of, just open your mind. It's as simple as
I
that.
agree
I'm not there to
100%.
tell you what to think. I'm not telling, just investigate and just think for yourself. Just make your own informed decisions. And
Right.
I'd love to be a part of that. So
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And there's something I wanted to like tap into a little bit. I don't know if you have time. I know it's like 9:40 where
uh,
you're at. It's regarding dreams. Something that's always fascinated me. I've been learning a lot about, experimenting within my own dreams, some stuff. So there's something called a lucid dream, which I'm not sure if you know exactly what they are about, but basically where you're in a dream that is a dream. So in the dream, you acknowledge that this is fake and you're actually asleep in real life and that there's no consequences. So that's basically I think of it like a game. It's like a video game where there's no consequence for whatever you do. So you can jump off your buildings. You can go, jump into the ocean and swim with sharks, and you can think up whatever you want. You can literally think up whatever you want. Like with your mind, you want to be in a certain setting, a certain event, a certain situation, see a certain person, do a certain thing, fly. You think about being able to do it, and there you are doing it. You think about the event, there you are in the party. You think about a person, there you are speaking to them. It's a total different realm that I've never been able to explain. I've never been able to understand, what's going on. And the weird thing is, I speak to a lot of friends about it, speak to a lot of people, even yourself, over our meeting last week. When was the last time you had a lucid dream? When was the last time that you have experienced this? And first, let me ask you, when was the last time you've had a lucid dream? Have you ever had one?
Well, I definitely have dreams I remember. I know a lot of people don't have dreams that they remember. For me to say that I'm in control of my dreams, it doesn't happen that often. But I have very vivid dreams that I'm off on a journey. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. But I think,
Right.
as we said on that thing last week, that when I was younger, I used to be able to. Well, I suppose no, that is a lucid dream, because what I used to be able to do when I was younger was essentially control that I wanted to get somewhere, and I would literally be flying through the air. But as I'm flying, it's almost like I'm swimming. But as I'm swimming, it's getting, I'm getting there quickly. So that's the kind of lucid dreams, yeah, I suppose that
Mm,
I have had, but definitely not in my older age. I have vivid dreams,
mm.
but yeah, not necessarily lucid. So what's your experiences?
So every single night I have this lucid dream, and I know it sounds like crazy because I mean, I was from the experiences that I've had with other people talking to them about this. They haven't had a lucid dream in a while, like 2 months, every like maybe even they've never had one. I have at least one lucid dream every single night, and I wanted to note that it stopped actually 7 days ago, and this stopped. Not only I don't have any more lucid dreams, and I still haven't had one today or last night or anything, but they've become nightmares and they've become negative dreams.
Oh, really?
And I cannot explain to you the last time I had a negative dream. I can't remember the last time I had a nightmare, or maybe I can. Maybe 3 months ago, there's like an earthquake, buildings falling. That I had like a nightmare like that, but I haven't had a negative dream in a very long time. I like to think that I look at my dreams as an indication of where I'm at in life. If I had a positive dream, I reflect on that and I have a very good day and I actually have in a great mood because I look at them as some sort of a level-ish indication of, I'm how spiritual I am, how positive I am, how negative I am, where am I? What's going on in my life? It's like a kind of a place that I look at for comfort, definitely. And I think they have real value in them, but I think there's different levels to dreams. So like the majority of humanity is probably experiencing the lowest level, which is trash and garbage dreams, which is just a collection of your fears, your desires, your aspirations, your worries, or the movie you watched last night, or something that happened last week, or a person you saw 2 weeks ago. They appear in your dream for no reason, right? So that's like the lowest level, garbage and trash, which I have 5 of them every night. We all have 3 to 5 dreams every single night.
Hmm.
So out of those, you probably don't even remember a single one of them, right? But there's some times where they're vivid enough for you to remember it when you wake up, and you forget it the next day unless you write it down or something. But 3 to 5 dreams. And the interesting thing about dreams is that they're not as long as they seem. So they said they did a study on how long someone's brain was stimulated. I don't know exactly how they did this, but when they were sleeping, the brain stimulates certain parts when they're dreaming. And it actually only lasts for 10 to 50 seconds per dream. So I've had dreams that have felt like they were hours long, seriously hours long. And those were mainly during the lucid dreams. But I've had, so this negative dream that I had 2 nights ago, it's what set me off. I was in a terrible mood 2 days ago because of what the dream was about. And it was a dream that I've never had in my life. So I had a dream that I was being choked by my downstairs neighbor in my elevator. Okay. I look at her, she look at me in the eyes, I'm screaming, help me. And I feel the sensations of, her touching me. And not only that, but I trick myself into believing that the pain is real. So what happens is that's real pain. It inflicts actual mental pain, because the only reason you experience pain in the first place is because the neurons trigger and trick your brain into thinking that you're actually feeling the pain. So if I'm in a dream and I truly believe that the dream is real, so that wasn't a lucid dream. Obviously, I don't have lucid dreams anymore, but that wasn't a lucid dream. So I thought it was real, and I tricked myself into believing that there was pain there. So what difference is that than the real world, right? You experience pain. How can you distinguish that? Then I wake up from that dream, and I tell my sister about the dream, and I tell my family about the weirdest nightmare that I've ever had. And I wake up once more, and it turns out that was also a dream.
Hmm.
Me waking up from the dream, I woke up in a dream. And it was a layered dream. And this has happened to me 3 times before, where I fall asleep during the dream.
Yep.
And I dream another dream within the dream. It's basically a multi-dimensional dream where you wake up and you're still in a dream. Then you wake up and you don't know whether or not it's a dream anymore. And I was going insane. I didn't know whenever I woke up into the actual physical world, whether that was a dream as well. And I was really going crazy until I spoke about it with my family and they helped me figure it out.
No,
Really crazy stuff.
I've had similar. I've definitely had dreams within dreams where I've fallen asleep and woken up, what I believe was woken up, gone back into a dream, and then woken up again. And yeah, so I've definitely experienced similar stuff to that. Not very often, but yeah, very, very much years ago. But yeah, interesting stuff, isn't it? It's
Very interesting.
I mean,
Because you can experience pleasure in dreams as well. We all know you can experience pain in a dream, and in that dream you believe it to be the reality. You don't think it's a dream.
Hmm.
So look at the physical world, right? You can feel pain and pleasure. You can feel things. You can feel the ground beneath you, just as you can in a dream, and you believe this to be the true reality, just as you do in a dream. And you don't believe this to be a dream, just as you do in a dream. You don't believe the dream to be a dream when you're in it.
Hmm.
I find lots of connections between dreams and our physical world. Like, how do we know that this itself is not a dream? And I know that's a far-fetched idea. It's just an interesting thing to think about.
Well, no, I mean, I'll tell you a dream I used to have, and again, I haven't had this in a long, long time, but very much as a child. I would dream that I would, and I've had this multiple times, that basically when I pass, I wake up from the dream that we are experiencing now, and what it is, I go down to like a sort of a table that's on this sort of big bay window in a Victorian house, and then I just go to have my breakfast with my family. But it's like I've had that multiple times where ultimately this world or this life is a dream, and I go to sleep, and then obviously I wake up. Once this over, then I wake up and I'm at this table, and I used to have that multiple times when I was a kid. But it's I don't know what that means. I don't know what it is, but it just feels very real. And I mean, that's
Right.
now. I mean, look at hypnosis. I'm not saying that hypnosis is a wonder cure, because I don't believe it is, but I believe it has its place. It really does some good for some people. But the whole point is the subconscious can't differentiate between what we see now, the dreams, that we experience. And obviously this is where hypnosis comes in, so it can kind of reprogram, if you like, in certain areas of your brain, because it
Fascinating. Wow.
can't distinguish between what's conscious and what's unconscious in terms of what we're experiencing. It just, yeah. So, yeah. So I believe that there's something to that. I mean, just a quick one dream, and I think I told you this story before, but you know, when I was probably about 13 years of age, I wasn't a very good boy. I was a bit of a rogue, and me and my friend were into shoplifting, and we went to, you know, we were on a spree, and it wasn't just little things, you know. We'd go out, steal sports bags and fill them up with stuff, you know. It was totally kind of scallywag kids. And one particular night I had a dream that I went to a particular shop, and I got caught shoplifting. And that's all I can kind of remember from the dream. But then the day after, we ended up at this shop, and we wasn't pre-planning it or anything like that. We ended up at that shop, and we actually got caught shoplifting. We ran away and we got away,
Wow.
but there was like a premonition there, you know. And again,
Wow.
is that chance? Is it? Who knows? But you know, I had that experience. I then, you know, acted that out, that experience out. I mean, the dream wasn't identical. It was the shop, but the shop didn't look like the shop actually did. But it was the shop, if that makes sense. So,
Hmm.
so yeah, I'm just saying that that obviously happened, and then obviously it was kind of like a prophecy, if you like. But
And whether or not it was prophecy or chance
yeah.
doesn't really matter at this point. I think it's enough to at least question whether or not it is prophecy or chance, right?
That's what we're talking about, isn't it? You know, when we say about being open minded, just question stuff. You know, don't bloody
Exactly.
just take what people are telling you as the official narrative. You know, you got your
Completely.
own, you know, you got your own sense, your own, you know, just explore that, and you know, just be a bit open minded about what could potentially be, because in my opinion, we've got so many unanswered questions, and we don't know half of it. We believe that we're this extreme powerful human race, and we know a lot of stuff. I believe we know, you know, nothing.
You can't even measure it. It's too small.
A grain of sand on a beach, you know. It's that's what I believe. And you know, it's just, it is just being open minded to that, about potential and possibility, because I think as you do that more, we can advance ourselves as individuals, as a human race, and you know, it's all for the better. Yeah.
I agree 1000%. And it's a fascinating subject that I'm very glad to have this conversation with you. I was really, really thrilled, excited for this.
Yeah, so am I, mate. I mean, like I say, when we had a brief meeting last week, I just thought we were going to bounce off each other, because we've got so many kind of good things. And like I say, I can't pay you enough compliments about what a level-headed
Thank you.
17-year-old, you know, mate.
Thank you.
I wish I was like that at 17. You know, you wouldn't have wanted to know me at 17.
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, though, I was like before I learned about spirituality. I'm still a kid. I'm acting like I'm so old.
I know.
When I was younger, rather, I had my time as well. Parent-teacher conferences every single week. They used to have those boards where you can get a green card if you're good, yellow card if you're a little bit iffy, and a red card if you're bad. I've gotten 4 red cards in a week before. I was terrible person, terrible child. I was anti-authority, including my parents. I remember a specific instance. I made my mom cry when I was on the 8 years old because of how bad behaved I was. Wrote some mean stuff about my teachers, anti-authority. I was that funny clown that everyone seemed to love, but at the same time, I never truly fit into any specific group.
Hmm.
And I mean, I have wonderful friends. I have amazing people that support me throughout every day. But that's definitely was, I think, one of the leading factors of me actually going towards this direction of spirituality, because I saw the other side of things, even though, you know, most kids go through that as well. But I saw, you know, the other side of things, being rebellious and going through, and that really got to me, and it's gravitating me towards where the direction I'm going right now, which is, you know, you don't really need to take everything as it is. There's probably something more to it than just, you know, be a good kid, go to college and get money, support a family, and die like a dead piece of meat in your apartment whenever you are done, right? I mean, I don't know. That's the process that everyone's going through right now, and they don't believe that there's anything more than that. I think definitely there's more than that, and it's enough to question, at least, like we said this entire episode.
But like I say, you're teeing yourself up for some good stuff. I mean, to be 17 and to be where you are, that's good, because a lot of my son, he's 16 and he's lost. He just doesn't know where to go, what to do, and we're investigating that. I'm doing my best as a father to kind of nurture him, to kind of make the best choices he can. So yeah, it's like you say, you're not advanced. I'm not advanced. I'm 43, mate, and I'm still learning every bloody day. I don't think we ever stop learning and we ever stop growing. I just think it's it's a compliment to yourself of where you sound like you are, which is great. So but yeah, I mean, I've really, really enjoyed this podcast. Honestly, it's been great. So yeah, I just want to thank you for hooking up with me and finding me on the internet, and yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it too.
Thank you so much. This was a really good pleasure. Thank you.